Hello, hello. Well, I am having a little break from my podcast. I am on a little holiday and I haven't done that for a very long time. So I'm very grateful for you for letting me take some time off. What a good boss you are. Are you a good boss? And I will be back on October the 20th. But in the meantime, I wanted to share with you some gorgeous interviews I did with some very, very special people. This was created for the Energy Club. And in the Energy Club, there's lots of bonus content. So you might want to join my Energy Club. If you like this podcast, Energy Club get 3 podcasts a week. We have a special extra exclusive podcast on a Wednesday just for them. So maybe you could join that. But if you don't want to do that, you can just listen along to these interviews with my gorgeous friends. Enjoy.
Hello. I am very, very excited about this podcast. The reason I'm so excited, I'm excited about most podcasts, but this one's even more special than normal because I have my glorious friend Lesley here with me today. Now, Lesley and I have been friends for fucking ever. So long, and she's probably my favourite person in the world to have a conversation with, and now I get to share her with all of you. So welcome, Energy Club humans. And today I'm talking to my gorgeous friend Lesley Klue, and I'll tell you more about how you can find Lesley because she works with gorgeous humans like yourself. And we're just going to be riffing about a whole lot of things. But Lesley sits, I was thinking about this interview, and the whole point of the club is that I've got lots of gorgeous experts who I can introduce you to and explain different parts of energy. And Lesley's been an incredible influence for me, I don't know what the right fucking English is for that, but whatever that means, in my world. And she's sort of in an intersection of emotional energy and spiritual energy. Lesley hates the word spiritual, so we will talk about that. But the intersection of those two things, and so that's what we're going to be talking about. So, welcome to my gorgeous Lesley. Hello, Flower. I always call Lesley Flower.
Hi, Lisa. I don't call you Flower.
No, I've always called you Flower. I think it's from Bambi. You know when Bambi meets, what was the skunk's name?
You know what? I never saw Bambi. No, now you're going to tell me off, aren't you?
Yeah, I am, because fuck, Bambi's really cute. And Bambi comes round the corner and says, oh, what's that? And the mother says, Bambi's mother, before she tragically dies and ruined my life in the movie, says, it's a skunk. And she said, oh, well, I'm going to call him Flower. Oh. And so the skunk's name in Bambi is Flower.
Am I a skunk?
No, you're not a skunk. I do really like the word flower. I've always called you Flower. So there you go. Welcome, Flower. Yes, welcome, Flower. So tell me why you don't like the word spiritual. Let's start.
Why did you ask me such a hard question to start with? Things that
what a shitty word. I don't like it either, so I understand.
Why I don't like it. Sometimes I just know I don't like it. It just comes from a place of like, that's not a very comfortable word for me. I think because it actually narrows things down a bit too much for me.
I quite like, I love that about you, because you know that you don't like it and you don't give a fuck why you don't like it, you just don't like it. And that's one of the things I love about you, because you go, no, that's not my word, Lisa. And I go, all right, that's not your word.
That's true. Yeah, and I often don't really think about why, because I think sometimes it's just a waste of time.
I don't really like the word spiritual, and the reason I really grapple with this in the book, because it's a bit try-hardy. Like, I feel like people have this idea of what does a spiritual person look like, and it's like, fuck, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to have a dream catcher around your neck and bells around your ankles or something, or you've got to be some kind of person, and I think everyone's spiritual.
Mm-hmm. Yes, same.
You can't help it, right?
No, that's right. I think the thing is you're born and you're, that in essence is who you are, but it's not really a word. I don't think you can put a word to it. I think we just live out of different spaces in our lives. So I'm much more comfortable around the idea of having, being soulful. And when you're soulful, you act and behave and think and live in a completely different way. I don't really see those two words as being, spiritual and soulful. One is kind of warm and embracing, and the other is sort of like definitive and a little harsh to my way of thinking.
Yes, and I like your way of thinking. But I think, now I'm thinking about it, that spiritual was kind of, the word was probably created in a contrast to religious. So it meant the opposite, for a lot of people it means, oh no, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. And I'm like, why would you even fucking compare the two? Like, Do you know what I mean? Like there's a real comparison game there, I think.
Yeah, well, each to their own. I don't really care.
No, it's just this is how most of our conversations go. I go, what do you think about that, Lesley? And she says, I don't fucking care, Lisa. And I say, all right, well, that's the end of that then. So we won't talk about that now. That's the end of that conversation. Right, Lesley's moved on. So the reason I wanted to talk to you, these are also most of our conversations is us just fucking laughing. But the reason I wanted to talk to Lesley and I wanted to share her with you is that I think Lesley's official title in the world is a prickle digger. And Lesley's very good. If you go to Lesley and say, I've got a thing, something's up, and I don't know what it is, I've got a wee struggle, I'm in a pickle or something, then Lesley goes, right, good. And she doesn't judge anyone. And she goes, okay, cool. It's kind of like, and you don't know what it is necessarily, right? People come to you, they don't know what the problem is. They just know they have a problem.
Do some talking and then I can just see if I can hear what it is.
Yes, but you're like one of those, you're like a machine that can, like I don't know, is it a sonograph or something kind of machine that just finds the prickle? And then you go, I think this might be your problem. And people go, fuck me, that's it. And you're quite a genius at that. Like that's what you do really, eh? Prickle digging.
Yeah. I quite like doing that. I find it interesting to be able to get to the heart of what's really going on and get rid of the fluff around it. But you kind of just have to, people just chat and somehow I can pick up what the important bits are.
Yes, because you laser in on the bit that actually matters, right?
Yeah.
So Lesley's a professional conversationist. Actually, should you have that on your website? You should have that on your website. She's a professional conversationist. Wrote a book called 52 Conversations. It's an amazing book. You should definitely buy it. And it's got beautiful conversations exploring lots of sort of fun
Life
stuff, eh?
Yeah, life stuff.
Like what? Tell us more about it.
Well, I guess I just decided to summarise the main areas that people struggle in. And I suppose, like Lisa's talked about me being a prickle digger, usually people struggle with much the same kinds of things. And over the years, I've noticed that there are themes.
Like what? What are the themes?
Well, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
And I'm never going, I work and I'm never going to get there. And other people they're successful and I'm not. And I'm a loser and everyone else is successful. And
but don't you think
you're going to find a partner? And I don't know.
It all comes from not good enough, though, eh? That whole lack of I'm flawed, and that's because the world tells us we're flawed, doesn't it?
Do people actually believe that? There's just that's part of being born into the conditioned world where we're not taught that overtly, but we're given those messages all our entire life, like, where everything is competitive. If you don't come first, then you're last and you're a loser. And if you don't do better than the person next, just same old rat race on the treadmill shit.
I know, it's really boring, isn't it? But I think, isn't it funny how from a really early age, we're judged on everything? You know, when you have a baby, Lesley and I have got 8 babies between us. She's been a baby guru for me as well. But remember, when you have a baby and they say, oh, does he sleep? And you're like, fuck off, don't judge my baby. Hey, like they want to go, is he a good baby? I'm like, what does a fucking good baby mean? And they go, oh, he doesn't sleep, he's a naughty baby. And it's like, no, he's just fucking hungry or he's just a bit whatever. Like, and people, I had this woman I was talking to the other day and she said, I've got this fucking baby and it doesn't sleep. And I said, well, you invited him here. Like, she went, oh yeah. Hey, you know how some babies sleep?
I do completely understand that. And it's never been something I've been comfortable with. I didn't even have a blanket book. I had no interest in how much my babies weighed or when they walked, or I kind of wish I could remember that now, by the way. But it's still not important enough for me to ever want to go back and do all of that. Like, people are just compared too much in the environment that we in the Western world grow up in. I was going to say it's dangerous. It's not dangerous. It's just
stupid.
It's just unnecessary. It's so unnecessary and quite debilitating because it produces and encourages children to grow up with anxiety and stress and all of those kinds of mental health issues.
Yeah, that's so true.
And their parents.
Well, parents are just big children, aren't they?
Big parents trying to raise children who are constantly needing to measure up to something that they actually have nothing to do with and couldn't care less about.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that funny? I was talking about that. A friend of Tilly's was here on the weekend, talking about how much he hated school. And I said, well, school's not for everyone. And then he said, what do you mean by that? And I said, well, everyone who wants to, work in a school environment did well in a school environment. So they don't fucking understand you because you don't do well in that environment and you're not that kind of, they're not your people. And he went, oh my God, I've never thought of it like that. And I said, look, there are people that love school and they go, oh, I love school. I'm going to go and be a teacher and do more schooly things. And so then they go, you're not right because you're not like me. And I think the whole world's like that. There's all this, everywhere you go, it's like, oh, no, that's not right. You can't do that. You can't do that. Don't really like that.
Well, I don't think it works. And so
no,
I don't subscribe to it.
I think that's why you're so refreshing, because you've never subscribed to it your whole life. You've said, every time I go to Lesley, I say, oh my God, Lesley, this has happened and it's a big drama. And she goes, oh, fuck, Lesley, it doesn't matter. And I go, oh yeah, fuck, that's lovely. What a relief. Everyone needs Lesley in their world because she goes, oh, don't think it fucking matters. And everything I thought was very important 4 minutes ago suddenly is just gone. Because it doesn't matter, eh?
No, it doesn't matter at all.
Like, fuck all actually
I
matters.
really hope my husband isn't listening to this because
No, but nothing. Why can't David listen? Oh, now we've got his name. Hello, Flower. I call him Flower too. No, but I don't think it matters if he listens.
no, it doesn't. No.
We also laugh often because our husbands are nothing like us.
Yeah.
Mark can't listen either, actually.
No.
It's all right. They're not in the
Just
energy
keep
club.
going anyway. We can't be living in fear of that sort of thing, can we?
Well, no, we definitely can't.
It is a podcast. It is out there.
I know. We'll tell David and Mark they can't listen because they might find out that we don't like rules. I think they know. I don't think it's a secret. I think they know that we're a bit naughty, don't they? They've always known we're a bit out the gate and don't have rules. Now, talk to me about, let's talk about the different, like, I like that you brought up the soulful energy and being soulful. And the contrast to that is people living out of ego, right? So that,
Well, yeah, this is the model I like to use because I think it's kind of simple, is that by virtue of being human, you have an ego aspect to yourself. And the ego, many people talk about the ego. You can Google it. You're going to get 100 million responses to the ego. But the way I see it is that the ego is the part of us that actually helps us adapt and be able to live successfully as a human being on the planet. Like, we're born, and it's kind of like a little handbag attached. Like, you don't. When you're just born, you're pretty much all soul. You're just a little light ball of light. But you can't really float around being a ball of light if you want to get on in the world. So you have this little handbag that carries all the things and the tools.
it's like a little basket that hangs at the bottom of your balloon.
Yeah.
It's a useful basket, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because things like fear, people say fear is bad. I'm like, no, fear keeps you safe.
Yeah.
Fear's useful, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's in the basket.
Actually, it's all fine. It's all fine. Like, there's nothing that's not fine. The thing about it is learning to understand and identify those different parts of yourself and actually learn how to make them work together. So your little manual, your little basket of stuff is the stuff that helps you to actually understand what it means to live in a human world where everything is important and there are rules and you need to learn to live by the rules. Otherwise, you're going to go to prison and that's not fun for anyone. And, so, generally speaking, if your parents don't want you to put your fingers all over the TV, that's cool. You should learn about that. It's not that there's anything really wrong with that. They're a condition. But the important thing is understanding that it's a condition, but your identity isn't that condition. Your identity is something much freer and lighter that you can choose to opt into the minute you need.
See, I really like that. And I love that saying, who were you before the world told you who to be?
Yes.
Right? So it's like, that's your soul self, isn't it? That's your pure you-ness.
Yeah.
And then you came into the world and got raised by a mother that said, you've got to shut the fucking drawers and you can't leave the fridge open and you get in trouble if you don't eat all your dinner and, blah, blah, and all the rules and bullshit that people buy into. And then we all buy into that. And you have to buy into it because you look around and go, well, I've got to live with these fucking people. And for survival, I should do as I'm told.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me is you then leave home, get your own home or do your thing, and then you still an automatic pilot doing stupid shit that you don't believe in, but you've never taken the time to go, this is not my rule. Do you know what I mean? And I tell the story all the time about Tilly wanting her ears pierced at 9. And when she said, Mum, can I get my ears pierced? And I was like, no, definitely not, because you're not 11. And then I was like, where the fuck did that come from? Why do I think you have to be 11? And I thought, shit, I just opened my mouth and my mother came out. And it wasn't my rule. And then I was like, actually, Lisa doesn't think there's any problem with a 9-year-old having her ears pierced. So Lisa took her daughter to get her ears pierced. And then my mother was like, but you can't do that. She's not 11. And that's just a really good example of the sort of shit we absorb and think is truth.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
And I mean, that's an example. And then there are other examples. Some are way more, debilitating in the sense that you're told that you should do this or you should do that. And if you don't do that, then we feel guilt. And then that guilt makes us feel anxious. And then that anxiety means that we become immobilized and can't live our lives in a functional way. So, that's a rule, that's an idea or a belief that you hold. And then there are other things like you should, you should have a car and a house and all the bits by the time you're 30. And, or you shouldn't do this or that or whatever. And the more rules people have, the more immobilized they are in terms of being able to experience freedom and live in their highest good, because they're so dragged down by all of these anchors.
But I don't think a lot of people even understand what freedom is for them, eh? Like, they don't even know where to begin. Like, when I say to people, well, what do you want? Or what would make you feel free? And they go, fuck it, they just look at you blankly. And see, I think for me, I used to think freedom was doing what I wanted, but the older I get, freedom's now for me not doing what I don't want. It's kind of the same but different. So now it's like going, I don't want to do that, so I'm not fucking going to because I don't want to.
Well, I think freedom is being able to make your own decisions and live by them. And sometimes we choose to do things that might fit inside that kind of ego construct, and other times we want the freedom to be able to live life outside in our soul space.
Yeah, I like that.
There isn't really any rules. Rules only occur when you don't recognize or understand that you have other choices. You haven't been exposed to that kind of way of thinking yet. It is a way of thinking.
See, that goes into mental energy, right? Because it's your beliefs, and I think whatever you believe is true. So if you think you're fucked, right? If you think life's awful, guess what? You're right. Don't you reckon? And if you think life's amazing, then you're kind of right.
Yeah.
So in that buying into. But I like that. How do you reckon, what's the best way to understand your soul self, to get in contact? If someone's listening to this going, I don't even fucking know what my soul self is.
Okay. So there's two parts to us. There's the part that is responsible, gets on with things, makes decisions, that are good for everybody, living the right thing.
The good girl. Is that the good girl?
Good girl.
Oh, yes.
And
right.
Then, if you want to understand the soul aspect of you, these are the first glimpses of those are when you are in a space where you feel this joy or this connection with something, and you notice that your mind isn't involved anymore. So, for example, lots of people talk about these moments when they're like perhaps watching a sunset or having that first sip of coffee in the morning, or when you're just completely daydreaming, in flow, listening to music. So what actually happens in those times is that time ceases to exist, and you're just in this space of nothingness that sparks some kind of joy. And you notice that you are happy. The problem is that these moments come and go so quickly, we often don't notice them. But if you can catch those moments and you can think to yourself, oh, I've just had this great idea, like a burst of energy that's an amazing idea that doesn't really come from anywhere sensible or logical, or you're experiencing a moment where your heart just wants to burst because it's just really happy. And there's an absence of all the worry in your life. Like you're in that moment, you're not thinking about that. I call these soul moments. And the idea is to have them more and more often, or notice them more and more often, and capitalize on them. So to actually use them to learn and, have many discussions with clients around the value and talking about those soul moments, so that they become not just soul moments, but they become soul times.
Yeah, so by talking about them, you kind of put them on the front wheel. Yeah. So you're not just leaving them in the back room.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people lead with problems, don't they? They always want to share problems, and like people say, oh, and I'm cold and it's boring and I haven't got any money and my life's shit, and they want to lead with all their problems. But actually, if you lead with what's a lovely soul moment you've had lately? You know what I mean? Like, that's such a nice conversation to go, oh, you won't believe it. Yesterday, I had a soul moment. I watched a big kiriru, a massive wood pigeon.
Oh my God.
I walked up the drive and there was this fucking enormous pigeon.
Yeah.
Looked like a duck sitting in my kowhai tree. And I thought, oh, darling, your branch is going to break. You're so hefty. But she was just sitting there and nibbling on the berries. Oh, my God, it was so divine. And I just stood like frozen in the driveway, like a statue, because I didn't want to disturb her. And I was just in awe of how magnificent and big she was and how delicate the tree was. And it was just this moment of like, fuck, nature's glorious, you know?
And time stops.
Yeah, it literally stops.
It just stops and you're just in it. And all of a sudden, there's no chatter or clutter. You're just having a moment where you're connected to something, nature usually, and connected to something beautiful. Like, I encourage people to really start to notice and collect I call them the my soul loves moments. And this does come from Sonia Choquette and some of her work.
I love
to acknowledge that. But it's just an exercise I've used for years, and people just over time gather these moments so sometimes when they're really distressed and really need to be able to go, move into their soul space, I just say, go back to your book, grab some of those, do it, make a coffee, go outside and jump in your pool, or go and lie on the grass that's just been mown and look at the sky, or just do something out of your book that brings you into that space, and you'll find yourself just calm down. The world gets anchored again. You feel connected. Those worries just take a back step for a while. It's just perfect to do that.
I love that. I love that when Tilly was diagnosed with diabetes, she was 7, and a lady came around to talk to her about dealing with a big condition like diabetes. And she suggested she should have a shoebox full of things she loved, and not everything fitted in, but she could have like a photograph of someone she loved, or a picture of a bird, or a favourite little toy, or, little things. So she used to love Charlie and Lola. We all love Charlie and Lola books. We were obsessed.
To have fun.
I know I've got a whole lot, and I've got loads of them. Collecting Charlie and Lola books was a thing Lesley and I did for our children for a long time. And so she had the tiny little like statues of Charlie and Lola, because obviously a book wouldn't fit in the shoebox. But this little shoebox, and when she was stressed, she had to go and get her shoebox and just look through the things she loved. And it's kind of like that, isn't it? It's like, what does my soul love? And having something that represents all those things in a little box that she could sit on the floor and just sit and go through. And so if she was stressed and didn't want to do a needle, or was in a funny space, and I'd say, why don't you get your happy box? And in that was all the little things. And when I think that's kind of like the soul, little things that her soul loved, which is cute.
Hey? Well, the more you get to learn and understand what it feels like to be in that space, the more you understand not just the language of being in that space, because the language is completely different from the language of being in your ego space.
Yeah.
So in our human world, and we're still in that world when we're in our soul space, we're not kind of flitting off into some other celestial kind of space. We're just choosing to exist in a different space while we're having our human experience, which actually makes it easier to live. So when you're in your ego space, we use completely different languages. We use shoulds and shouldn'ts and rules and wrongs and rights, and all of those words are actually, they maintain a sense of, what's the word? There's a this or a that. So you can't ever just be okay being one or other. There's always there's no contentment with that. There's always, so, that's cool. But when we go into that other space, things just are. There's no kind of
that's like the higher self and the lower self, right?
The higher self and the lower self.
I love those ideas. And it's like when I'm in my lower self, I'm very grounded and I've got a fucking shopping list and I'm doing the chores and, and I'm organised and bossy and in that space. Whereas when I'm in my higher space, I don't fucking know there's chores.
No.
Like I'm in a creative space. Like I love needlework. Or we both love needlework. So loving, when I'm sitting embroidering something, fuck, I'm so happy. All I'm thinking about is that little needle going through the fabric, and I'm just in this zone of colour, and I don't care about anything, and time stands still. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not thinking about I haven't fed the dog, or it's amazing. I think creativity helps, doesn't it? Like doing creative things.
Well, the soul is its happiest in the creative space, because it's it is all about creating. And so
it is creation.
It is creation. So when we're in that space and we're creating something, and it doesn't matter what it is, it's living at a very high. When you think about energy, for example, if you think about the soul and the ego and you put it on a continuum, and the ego sits down the bottom, say it might be where you might put 0, and if you go up to 10 and the soul sits up in that space, and you've got all of those between 1 and 10, each of those numbers represents a different frequency of energy. So when you're at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, you're at a heavier level of energy, and in that heavier energy sits. It's most of us who are in any way creative, and most people are, will understand that when you're carrying heavy energy or worried about something, or that energy, it's not high enough to be able to even get into that creative frequency.
No, exactly. It's quite gloomy, isn't it?
Down and makes you feel quite gloomy. So if you think about soul energy as being higher frequencies of energy, when we're in that energy, it's easy to be creative and be in the flow and do those kinds of things. And the trick for most people is, how do I get from this low energy into this high energy? I've got all these worries. I've got dependent parents, and I've got sick children, and we've got no money, and it's hard to pay the bills. And so it's they're living in that lower kind of energy,
and that is the reality, right? That's life. Yeah.
That's life. And you can find ways still, despite that, to move into those higher frequencies. It just takes someone to show you how.
How do we do that? I mean, I know how I do it. I do it from listening. So I love Jonathan Goldman's work and the healing sounds, his healing sound stuff. I listen to a lot of his vibrational stuff. And so if I want to lift my vibration literally, I will listen to, on Spotify, you can find Jonathan Goldman, and his vibrational stuff is incredible. And so I find that vibrational tone literally shifts the energy in my body. So that really helps me on an energetic level. Sunlight helps me. Like if I go outside, movement helps me, but not movement in an ego I should do a squat, or I should do a fucking press up, but in a floaty, ethereal kind of, I'm just going to be some weird whirling dervish floating around, kind of flinging my arms and legs everywhere kind of energy, where I'm shaking shit off that can physically shift.
I think too, it's giving yourself permission to actually be able to access that energy.
Yeah.
So when sometimes when people are having a really hard time, you can't just leap out of it into a higher energy. Maybe you need to do it incrementally. Maybe it's about giving it, like sometimes I encourage people to think about putting their existing worries sort of in a suitcase for a while and just putting it somewhere for the rest of the day, so that it's not gone. They're not getting rid of it. They're not paying attention to it. They're just taking a break from it. They can come back to it later on in the day if they want. You can go back and open up that suitcase, and you can get out those worries, and you can give some.
It's a good idea though, isn't it? Like putting stuff into stuff.
Yeah, like put it in.
I put my parents in the river once. That was hilarious.
And I'm glad to know that it worked, and they're actually energetically still there, aren't they?
I know, they're in the river. I thought, fuck you, you're pissing me off. And Lesley said, well, let's pop them in a sack. And I put them in a sack, and I tied them up in a bow. And then I said, oh, now what, or something. And then you said, oh, fuck, if you put them in the river. And I was in a meditation, but in my mind, the sack went in the river. I thought, oh, well. And I was really happy they were in the river, because at that moment, that's where they needed to be.
Yeah, I wasn't so sure about it myself, Nathan, but I actually worked for you.
Well, it wasn't me. What I
think it was just the idea.
It was the idea.
Able to put people and things somewhere. Most of the time, our energy is so cluttered with all of these other things, and really we need to separate ourselves from them.
I agree. And I think there's a lot of little activities that I've played with over the years of removing people from your energy. So when someone pisses you off, or someone's overstepped boundaries, or someone's behaving badly, I remember when I was a little girl, I used to go and stay on a farm in Temuka, and I learnt, I'm a very towny person, I'm not a farmy person, but I learnt on this farm about putting the little rubber bands around lambs' tails. And I was like, why do you do that? And this farmer said, oh, you just put them on and eventually they drop off. And then I thought, you know what, fucking people should get rubber banded. So sometimes I do that with people. I think, no, fucking put a rubber band around you, and people just drop off. So if I quite often will draw a person, and I draw a circle around them, and I think, right, that's you, fucking gone. And then they disappear. And because I think energetically you can, just kind of remove yourself. But I think putting someone in a box Not physically. We're not suggesting that. But putting energetically going, I'm going to put you in a box, and even visualizing taping the box up and popping it somewhere so that they can't come and see you or they can't be in your space. It makes you feel in control, doesn't it?
Yes. And I know that this might sound really weird to people who are listening, but in most of our ties are energetic ties. We don't need to not see people. We don't need to break friendships with them necessarily, or if they're family members, they can still pop around and everything can still seem really normal. But when you've made that separation energetically, they don't impinge on you as much. They don't impact on you as emotionally as they used to. And that's the value of it.
So much. And I love that. And I think the idea of getting in charge, because you can still see them, but you go, it's a bit like my glass garage door thing where I go, I just pretend there's a glass garage door come down and they're standing right there, still think they're having a conversation with me. I'm not fucking absorbing any of their shit anymore because I've gone, do you know what? I don't need this crap in my life. And energetically, I'm not interested in your crap. So I can still say, would you like a cup of tea and sit there, but I'm not actually absorbing their stuff or letting it affect me, right?
No.
And I think getting in charge of that is so good, eh?
Yeah, well, I started my life as a psychiatric nurse, and when you're working in mental health and acute settings and with really distressed and ill people, we need to find ways to take care of ourselves. And one of the things I started to do early on was before I'd walk into the ward or go to work, I would put I'd put myself in an invisible bubble. And what that bubble did was that the intention of the bubble was to keep me protected from all the energies that I was surrounded by all day. In that kind of an environment, but it was semi-permeable in the sense that I could still serve and do my work and be connected and make connections and be, empathetic with people, but I didn't receive all the energy.
But not at the expense of yourself, right? And it's about that being the intention of it, of going, I'm not going to attach all the shit to me, because I go, imagine if you were wearing a Velcro suit and every single person that walked past you a little bit stuck on you, you'd be fucking heavy by the end of the day, right? And it's being aware of that Velcro suit, because I think that's a good visual for what we are doing. And you know how you can pretend you're zipping yourself into a big sleeping bag or something before you go to a family event or whatever you have to do.
Same thing.
Yeah.
And what it does is it just means that you're not taking things as personally or getting engaged in their stuff. You can just carry on being a functional person, enjoying the best of people and not getting sucked into all the negative energy that tends to float around in those environments.
And the drama. But what I like about it is you're in charge of your energy. So you're kind of taking charge of, this is what I will and won't absorb or take on in my world, instead of being a victim to it, like going, oh, my bloody mother, blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, get in charge of that. Do you know what I mean? Because, it's a bit dramatic to get rid of people out of your family. And so I go, learn to find have you got a strategy for them?
Yeah. Or decide, pick the things that you get on well with and focus on that, make decisions and put boundaries around that. Like
what do you love about them?
What do you love about them? And if there's one thing that you really love about them, focus on that and pay attention to that and be involved in that and just let the rest go. Like if they draw you into that, just the boundary is, no, I'm not going there. Change the subject. Go talk to someone else for a little while. Whatever. It's a conscious choice and it's a fun exercise to do, actually.
I've got a friend whose mother's really negative, and so she only takes her to the movies now. It's the only way she hangs out with her, because she doesn't have to talk to her. She sits next to her. What they enjoy a movie, they're spending time together. It looks like and it feels like they're connected, but actually she's not having to listen. When she took her mother for coffee or something, she would sit and have to listen to this barrage of crap. And so by going, no, let's go to a movie, she doesn't have to listen to her, but she's still ticking the box of having quality time.
Yes. Perfect.
Like, I quite like that.
Yeah.
It's a really smart strategy.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, so going back to the ego energy and the soul energy, when we're in our ego energy, we get engaged in all the negativity around a relationship. Whereas when we move into our soul space energy, we just see that person for who they are, feel a sense of love, but not in that way that means we're just, not that kind of like angelic fire kind of love that's not, not that. It's that kind of love that just says, you know what, you're okay. You're okay. You're fine the way you are. I'm okay. I'm fine the way I am, and we just find the bits we connect on, and we really just don't need to worry about any of the other stuff. It's not important.
Yeah, and you just got to find a way that I'm okay, you're okay, and how can we be okay together? Like, what's the bit where you, because I really
It can be okay to get that in.
yeah. And some things we go, no, I can't fucking do that with you because I'm not, but I can do that with you. You know, what is that? I think when I get in that space, and I had a moment on the weekend like this where I was like, rah, 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 and I was really shitty with someone. And then I went, hang on, fuck, Lisa. And the question that pulls me out of my ego space when I get in that is, what would love do?
Yes.
And I love that fucking question. That's Neil Donald Walsh, isn't it? Is it Neil Donald Walsh?
What would love do? I'm not sure, but that's the question.
That is the question.
That's the question. When you find yourself getting dragged down into the stuff, just, what would love do? Well, sometimes I say to myself, what would my...
No, that's Marianne Williamson. Marianne Williamson, I think, because she says sometimes love says no. And I really like that quote as well. That's from A Return to Love. But I really like Marianne Williamson's stuff. And her stuff of sometimes love says no is good because you don't have to put up with shit because you love that person. So if you're in a relationship with someone who treats you badly or whatever, you can go, no, actually, fuck off. Like, I'm not putting up with that shit because love says no, because self-love says I'm not putting up with that, right? But I like the idea of what would love do, and that always pulls me out.
Like, or how would love see this? Yeah, all of those. Perfect. And immediately, you know, like another whole little new voice comes into your head and just, which is, I think, that voice out of your soul space. And it just, mostly it says things like, just let it go or move on.
I was in I was stomping around a bit shitty. And then I thought, fuck. And I said to Mark, I've got to step into my loving kindness. I think I might just go outside and see if I can access loving kindness, because I was fucking out of it. I had no loving kindness. I was shitty. And I was in a very stompy human space. And then when I noticed, and then I was like, oh, hang on, this is not who I want to be or how I want to be. How do I, and I thought, right, what would love do? And that helps me to shift into my higher self.
Yeah.
Instead of my shitty human ego shit. Yeah, I know that.
Well, it just makes life more pleasant. And it doesn't mean that you're in flow more of the time and you're living in alignment with who you actually really are. You're not constantly fighting or going upstream, or it just is a way easier and happier and more contented way to live life.
I love that. So now tell me about, in the emotional energy space, people who got a big emotion, like they've got a huge, big fucking lump of guilt, or a big, massive, like, I'm not good enough complex. Like, I'm not just talking about, like, everyone has a little bit of it, but a really big lump of... What should you do if you've got a big lump of feeling? What do you think you should do? I mean, I think you should talk to someone about your feeling. I think that's always the best idea, but...
Well, I think...
What do you think?
I think that too. I think, well, you see, my whole thrust around... I've come to the conclusion that having conversations are the best and easiest way to sort through whatever. Like, when I think about big, sticky hard, I think of balls of wool that are so tangled and matted that, you know, a conversation helps to just ease the tension, unravel some of the wool, get to what's important. Just being able to talk things out.
I mean, how do you find people? So if you don't have anyone in your actual immediate world where you go, I can talk to that person. Because I think therapy should be government funded. I think the whole world should just go and sit down and go, well, fuck, here's what I think's wrong with me. And someone should help untangle that, right? Mm-hmm. But how do you find someone that you connect with, do you think? What's your advice for someone looking for that?
Right. I think you should ring a number of people and just set up a chat.
So get a vibe.
Just get a vibe, yeah. I don't think you should ring a counsellor and go there, and if you don't feel like, you know, the best thing you can do is find someone that you feel that you can connect to or relate to, or you have some kind of rapport with. And sometimes that means talking to a few people. And I don't know if this happens these days or not, but in my work, I always set up a chat with someone first, and I ask them what they want, and I let them know whether I can help or not. I mean, sometimes I'm not the person for them, and then I can recommend a few other people, or they can carry on with their search. So I think that's the easiest way. Once I've had a conversation with someone, it becomes very clear about whether we should continue to talk together.
I love that. I did that when I was pregnant, I did that for a midwife. My doctor said, you have to find a midwife. And I was like, oh, how will I do that? And then I thought, I'm going to have fucking interviews. So I rang 4 midwives, and I remember ringing the first one, and I said, oh, hello, I'd like to talk to you about midwifery, and I'm having a baby. And, you know, I was the only person in the fucking world having a baby. And I was all excited about my baby. And I was like, yes, I'm having a baby, and I'm due in July, and I need to find a midwife. And so I wanted to talk to you about that. And she went, yeah, and what do you want to know? And I went, oh, well, how do you work? And she went, well, I'm a midwife. It's quite simple. We do sessions. We do, and she was really, and I was like, oh, she was really cold and like kind of, I felt like I was intruding by ringing her. And then when I rang Jane, who was my first midwife, she said, oh, that's really easy. Well, I just really like to empower women to have amazing natural births. And, I'm really more on the natural side of things. And if that's the way you want to go, I'm kind of really into that. And I was like, oh my God, you're my person. Like instantly she knew what she was about. And I felt like we had stuff in common. But this other woman was very clinical and abrupt. And I thought, oh, I love a good yabber. Well, I'm not going to be able to fucking yabber to her, am I? She didn't want to talk to me at all. I thought, right, well, that's not. And I think it's the same thing. It's finding that rapport, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think too, one of the things that I think is important is that I don't think there's anything wrong with people. Like if you've got knots and emotional issues and big things that are making you unhappy, fine, all good, no worries. Like the thing is, fine, if you have a desire to be able to work those things out and be a bit happier, then find someone that can actually be okay with the fact that you're in that space right now and the goal is to help you move out of it and move forward.
Thing, though, people think, oh, I'm fucked up, I've got some issue. And it's like, mate, we're all fucked up. Everyone's fucked up. Like the whole fucking world's fucked up. And the good thing about most counsellors or therapists, I imagine, is they enjoy that space and they help untangle people.
Yeah,
and they're not judging at all. Like you wouldn't really be in the world, would you? If you were, I don't imagine many people would be in that world.
Well, I think some people can feel judged, and it's not necessary that person is judging them, but the point is that they have to be able to connect with someone where they truly feel like that isn't happening and that they've got the freedom to just be themselves, talk about anything, and feel safe.
Yes, I love that. And I think people don't feel safe. Like feeling safe's important. I feel safe when I'm with you. I feel very safe when I'm with you. I've always felt safe when I'm with you.
Good to hear, Lesley.
Isn't that good?
It's really good to hear.
It's one of my oldest and dearest friends. Aren't I lucky? We are lucky, aren't we?
We are.
Well, I just assumed you're lucky because you're my friend. I think we're lucky. Fuck, we're lucky. I feel lucky. I feel very lucky sharing you with the world. I feel very lucky with this Energy Club because I've got all these special people that I want to share. Or not all. I think I've literally got about 12 people who have a massive impact on my energy. So people who are either energy healers or at some level, physical, emotional, spiritual, there's that word again, all those things. And yeah, I love having conversations with you. Thank you, Flower. Thank you, Flower, for talking to me.
You're so welcome.
Well, I think it's lovely.
Conversations too. It's my most favouriteest thing to do ever.
I know, I love that. And if you want to know more about Lesley, you can find her at lesleyklue.com, and I will put the notes in here. And her book's called 52 Conversations, so you can find that book on Lesley's website. And if you need the best conversation in the world, I think you probably get it with Lesley. I think you're the best at it. If there was an award for the best conversationalist, can you put that on your website? A professional conversationalist.
Well, I have thought about it, but
what is professional? You get paid to have conversations. I fucking love that.
Yeah, I'm actually very lucky to get paid to have conversations.
You're not lucky. You're brilliant. You're brilliant.
Okay.
Yeah, you're not lucky. Luck's got fucking nothing to do with it. Luck pisses me off. People say, oh, you're lucky. No, we're not lucky. You've worked your ass off. Like you do a lot of amazing work. Loads of experience. You've unpickled a lot of prickles.
I have, but I just love doing it so much. I can't imagine my life without having conversations with people, and the people I have conversations with are just the very loveliest people in the world, and it brings me so much pleasure, and it brings them so much pleasure too, I think.
I know. I hear stories. I know how good you are. Right, well, thank you for listening to us today. I hope that is useful, and I hope you find someone lovely to have a conversation with today. Have a wonderful day.